Welcome back to the ASC 842 Lessee Accounting series from PNJ Group. We have covered the concepts and the mechanics. Section 6 turns everything into journal entries, the actual debits and credits you need to record at commencement, every period, and for special situations like lease modifications and sale-leasebacks. We will also work through two complete examples to see how the numbers connect from beginning to end. After this section, you will be comfortable recording the full set of a SC 842 journal entries. You will know the commencement entry for an operating lease, including how TIAs and broker commissions change the opening balances. You will post the two-step periodic operating entry. You will record both commencement and subsequent entries for a finance lease. You will know what the short-term lease entry looks like, which is deliberately simple. You will handle modification entries. And you will work through the sale-leaseback entry with the gain deferral calculation. Here is the operating lease commencement entry. The lease liability is the present value of future payments, $519,538. The broker commission of $5,000 was paid at commencement and is an initial direct cost that goes into the ROU asset. Debit the ROU asset for $494,538, which equals the lease liability plus the commission minus the TIA. Credit the lease liability for $519,538. Credit cash for the $5,000 commission payment. Separately, when the tenant improvement allowance of $30,000 is received from the landlord, record a debit to cash and a credit to the ROU asset, reducing it. Notice that the credit to the ROU asset for the TIA happens at the time you receive the cash, not as part of the initial commencement entry. The monthly operating lease entry is a two-step process. Step A is the accrual, debit lease cost for the straight-line monthly amount, in this example, $10,000. Credit lease liability for the interest component, $2,165, which is the opening liability times the monthly IBR. Credit the ROU asset for the amortization plug, $7,835, which is lease cost minus interest. Step B is the payment. When you pay the landlord, debit lease liability for $10,000 and credit cash for $10,000. The key insight here is that the payment entry does not go to lease cost at all. The cost was already recognized in Step A, and the two credits in Step A, interest to the lease liability and amortization to the ROU asset, are what create the plug mechanism that keeps the expense level over time. The finance lease commencement entry is simpler when there are no initial direct costs or incentives. Debit the ROU asset finance lease, which sits within PP&E, for $69,301, which is the present value of 4 annual payments of $20,000 at 6%. Credit the lease liability for the same amount. Note the classification. This ROU asset is inside PP and E, not a separate lease line on the balance sheet. That presentation difference from the operating lease ROU asset is a deliberate design choice under a SC 842, reflecting the economic substance that a finance lease is similar to purchasing the asset with debt financing. Finance lease periodic entries are recorded in 3 separate journal entries, not combined into one. First, the interest accrual, debit interest expense for $4,158, the opening liability of $69,301 times the IBR of 6%. Credit lease liability for the same amount, because the interest that has accrued increases what you owe. Second, the amortization. Debit amortization expense for $17,325. Credit accumulated amortization. The ROU asset is tracked net of accumulated amortization, just like any other PP&E asset. Third, the payment. Debit lease liability for $20,000 and credit cash. Keeping these 3 entries separate maintains the income statement distinction between operating amortization and financing interest, which is exactly the point of finance lease classification. Short-term leases are the simplest case, no balance sheet entries at all. Just debit rent expense and credit cash each month on a straight-line basis. That is intentionally simple. It is why the expedient exists. For lease modifications, the entries depend on the outcome of the modification analysis from Section 5. For an extension with no scope change, say, adding $112,000 to the liability after remeasuring at a new IBR, you debit the ROU asset and credit the lease liability for the same amount. For a partial space reduction, returning 30% of the lease space, you debit the lease liability by 30% of its balance and credit the ROU asset by 30% of its balance. Any difference is a gain or loss on the income statement. Both modification entries use the new IBR calculated as of the modification date. The sale-leaseback entry for a qualifying sale is the most complex in ASC 842. Let us walk through it. The building is sold for $3.5 million. Its carrying amount is $2 million. The gross gain would be $1.5 million, but the gain is constrained. The portion retained through the leaseback, which is the PV of the leaseback as a proportion of the sale price, is deferred. In this example, $1,243,000 is recognized immediately, and $257,000 is deferred as a contra ROU asset. Separately, a new ROU asset and lease liability are recognized for the leaseback obligation. Debit cash for $3.5 million and the new ROU asset for its PV. Credit the building at its carrying amount of $2 million. Credit the new lease liability. Credit the recognized gain of $1.243 million, and credit the deferred gain of $257,000. The deferred gain reduces the ROU asset over the leaseback term. Let us trace through a realistic scenario. A 5-year office lease with a 2-month rent-free period and then $10,000 per month for the remaining 58 months. IBR is 5%. The landlord provides a $30,000 TIA and the company paid a $5,000 broker commission. First, total lease payments. 0 for months 1 and 2, then 10,000 times 58 equals $580,000. Straight line monthly cost. 580,000 divided by 60 months equals 9,667. In month 1, even though no cash payment is made, the lease cost of 9,667 is recognized. The ROU asset decreases by the amortization plug, lease cost minus the interest on the liability. The absence of a cash payment does not eliminate the expense. This is one of the most counterintuitive aspects of operating lease accounting. Expense accrues even during rent-free periods. This comparison makes the key point about classification concrete. The same 4-year lease, same payment schedule, same present value. As an operating lease, $20,000 every year, $80,000 total. As a finance lease, $21,483 in year 1, declining to $18,459 in year 4, but still $80,000 total. The numbers prove what the theory says. Classification determines the income statement pattern and line item placement. Front-loaded with 2 separate charges for finance, level with 1 charge for operating. But across the full lease term, every dollar of obligation is recognized as expense regardless of how the lease was classified. Getting classification right matters for the income statement shape and EBITDA, not for total expense. The journal entries in this section bring together everything from the first 5 sections. The commencement entries set up the balance sheet correctly. The periodic entries maintain the amortization schedules. The modification entries implement the analysis from Section 5. And the sale-leaseback entries apply the sale test result directly to the debit and credit structure. In Section 7, we move to financial statement presentation and the disclosure requirements that let users of the financial statements understand your entire lease portfolio. Thank you for completing this section on journal entries and worked examples. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more training from PNJ Group.